All right, welcome to part 1 of chapter 2, section 3, the focus of a parabola. We're actually skipping finding the equation of parabola with the distance formula. We'll do that later. Right here, I'm writing down what I'm going to do, page 70, numbers 1, 5, and 7 for you. You are going to do those, plus you're going to try on your own page 70, numbers 2, 3, and 6. And one thing you need to do right now is pause and copy down the core concepts on page 69. Actually, you don't have to do 70 yet, so copy down the core concept right now on page 69. You're going to need it. I have parts of it here. One part's in purple, the other part is in red, but you need the graphs on there and any other information that I left out. So start up again when you're done, and I'm going to do page 70, number 1. So for page 70, number 1, we are supposed to graph y, sorry about that, y equals 0.5 x squared. We need to find the focus, directrix, and axis of symmetry. So first thing you want to do, you want to realize that this is y equals, and that's the squared, so we're going to go with this equation right here. And to find the focus, I need p. But p is in this jumble right here. So whatever's in front of the x squared is 1 over 4p. Whatever is in front of the x squared is 1 over 4p. So now I can actually solve for p. I like to convert this to a fraction, so I'm going to do 1 over 2 equals 1 over 4p. And if you remember back to Algebra 1, you can actually just cross multiply right here. So I'm going to multiply 1 times 2 and 1 times 4p, and to solve for p, divide by 4. So p equals 1/2. So I now have my focus, because once I know p, I know my focus, which is going to get an f in front, is 0, comma, that number. So let's start writing our answer down. My focus for number 1 is going to be 0, comma, p. Once I know p, all I got to do is change the sign. My directrix is y equals the opposite of p. So I found my focus because I used whatever's in front of x squared, and I matched it up with this little formula right here, 1 over 4p. Solve for p. Your focus is 0, comma, that number. Your directrix is y equals the opposite of that number. So you just write those numbers in those places. So we found the focus, we found the directrix, the axis of symmetry. I need to know the vertex first. Looking at this equation, my vertex is 0, 0. Use your graphing calculator to match it. You could also think of it as vertex form. There's no parentheses here though. So x is 0. And there's no k here, so y is 0. So my vertex is 0, 0, which means my axis of symmetry is x equals that number right there. I know my focus, my directrix, my axis of symmetry. I'm ready to graph. I know my vertex. I could put in a t-chart. 0, 0. Now, this is 0.5. I got to divide this thing by 2, or I got to take half of whatever this is. So I'm going to pick nice numbers that are going to give me even numbers. So 2 squared is 4, times 0.5 is 2. 4 squared is 16, times it by 0.5, that's 8. And let's do -2 and -4. -2 squared is 4, half of 4 is 2. -4 squared is 16, half of 16 is 8. And I'm ready to graph. Where's my black marker? No, I don't know where my black marker is. So here's my y-axis, here's my x-axis. I have my vertex at 0, 0. I'm going to try to do nice big spaces here, because this is actually a very squished parabola. 2, 2, 4, I'm sorry, 4 8s up here, -2, 2, -4, 8 must be around here. All right, that's nice, and you know it's really just important to get an accurate shape. But I label my vertex with a V. I'm going to label my focus with an F. I'm going to label my axis of symmetry, which is, my directrix. Y equals goes like this, -1/2. My directrix actually gets a thick line. Don't forget to write y equals -1/2. And then your axis of symmetry, well, it overlaps, so you can just do that. So we found the focus, we found the directrix, we used the vertex to find the axis of symmetry, we used the vertex to make a nice t-chart, and we graphed the rest of it. So that's number 1. You're going to try numbers 2 and 3 right now. Number 3, however, you're going to match it up with this in red. It's an x equals because there's a y squared, not an x squared, like up here. So go ahead and practice those. We can talk about them more tomorrow. I'm going to skip ahead to number 5. Okay. All right, next we need to write an equation of the parabola with a vertex at 0, 0, and then they give us something. So for number 5, they give us that the directrix is x equals -3. All right, making sure, okay, given directrix or focus. So they give us the vertex and they give us one piece of information. So from this piece of information, I'm going to go to my core concept and I'm going to find out where my directrix has an x equals, and that's down here. So my directrix is x equals -p. Well, right here, x equals -3. So I know right now that p must be 3. Because there's an x, there's an equals, there's a negative, so it must be that number right there. P is 3. Now once I know p, I know this part right here. X equals 1 over 4 times 3 y squared. All right, do some simplification. X equals 1 over 12 y squared is the equation of a parabola with a vertex of 0, 0 and a directrix of x equals -3. It's just as simple as matching it up with one of the core concepts and then finding your p to plug it in, okay? This is great. They give us a directrix. I do want to do one where they give us a focus, so I'm going to skip to number 7, and then you can go back and do number 6. Unless you feel really confident, go ahead and do number 6 right now, and 7 can be on in the background for you. I am very okay with that. Okay, so number 7, same vertex, but the focus is the information that we have. It's 0, 3 halves. All right, again, be a detective. I have a focus of 0, something. Sorry, 0. So, well, it's this one right here. 0, 3 halves, which means my p is 3 halves. I'm using this focus, which means I need to use this equation. Y equals 1 over 4 times 3 halves x squared. Well, the 2 and the 4 can simplify, so I have y equals 2 times 3, 1 over 6 x squared. Box it, and this is the equation of a parabola whose vertex is at 0, 0 and focus is at 0, 3 halves. While this might seem completely overwhelming, the main thing that we're doing is we're using these equations in our core concepts, and we're getting various pieces of information about a parabola. And we're either putting the whole picture together or just finding out something else about the parabola, like the equation. Or maybe they're going to give us the focus and we're going to find the directrix or something. But we pretty much keep going back to these equations from the core concepts, so they're pretty important. And while you might get overwhelmed with the math or afraid of the fractions, are we really doing anything that different from numbers 1 through 7? And the answer is really no, we're not. Okay, so, oh, I apologize. This wasn't number 1, it was number 2 on page 70. Sorry about that. So I did number 2, and then you had to do numbers 3 and 4, Hope you figured that out already, because I'm not going back to video this again, all right? There will be one more part another day, and then we will go back to the distance formula.